All right, in this lesson, we're going to be working with the quadratic formula. So this time, we're going to actually be solving quadratic equations. This is the formula we're going to use. Two things you should notice about it. Last time we worked with the inside of the radical. This is called the discriminant. This is going to tell us how many solutions we have. So we should know how to do this part already. That's what we're going to do first anyways in this. And this other part here, you should recognize this, negative b over 2a. See, we used to use this to solve for the vertex. So if we have 0 here as our discriminant, square root of 0 is nothing. That means our solutions are going to be right at the vertex, negative b over 2a. If this is positive, it's going to be away from the vertex to the left and to the right. So if it's positive inside, that's going to be some decimal. So you'll have two real solutions. If it's negative inside of a radical, you have no solution or no real solutions. Sometimes we call that two imaginary solutions in this case. So let's get into solving the quadratic formula. Let's go into our first problem. All right, here's the first problem we're going to solve. We're going to be solving for n. And since we have a squared here, we're going to be expecting two solutions unless the discriminant is 0. So we'll see if it's two real solutions, two imaginary solutions, or one real solution, okay? So in this, usually when we do quadratics, first thing you want to do is you want to make one side 0 because we have an n squared and an n here, right? So we're going to try to do the x here, 23 and 9. Okay, notice no matter whatever, the only numbers you can use here are 23 and 1, and we can never make it 9. So usually the easiest way is to see if we can factor it. In this case, we can't factor it. So if you can't factor it, your last resort is to use the quadratic formula. If you're not sure, the quadratic formula always works, but it's a little bit longer than factoring, right? So if you know how to factor, it's easier to solve it. If you know the quadratic formula, it'll always work, but it's a little bit longer. So let's get straight into it. So in this case, a equals 1 here. Our coefficient is imaginary 1. B is 9, and C is negative 23. So we're going to plug our numbers into the formula. We got, oops, not x this time. We're solving for n equals negative 9 plus or minus 9 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 23 all over 2 times 1. Okay, one mistake that people make, people forget to put this side underneath the division sign. So remember, this is negative b over 2a. We also have to divide this. So make sure your division bar goes all the way across, or else it's going to be marked wrong. All right, I'm going to fast forward. So we're going to do the discriminant first, but you guys already know how to do that. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit here. Okay, so I solved the discriminant here. That becomes 172. In the next lesson, we're going to see if we can simplify this. For this lesson, we're not going to be able to. So 172, you can't break down and simplify. So here are your two answers. We got negative 9 plus radical 172 over 2, and negative 9 minus radical 172 over 2. Those are your two answers. So this is your final answer for your homework. Okay, let's go to the next question. Okay, here's the second type of problem we're going to do in today's homework. Okay, so again, we have x squared and x on the same side. First thing we have to do, we have to make one side 0. So this is the main difference. We don't have 0 here, so we have to make it 0. We're going to add 12 to both sides. 0, 4x squared minus x minus 2. So now we're going to use these three for my a, b, and c. So that's the only main difference here. So a is 4, b is negative 1, c is negative 2. And then I'm going to plug it into the quadratic formula. So I'm going to pause and fast forward here. Okay, so other than changing this to 0, everything else is going to be the same. We're going to simplify our discriminant. Remember, this is negative 1 squared, so negative 1 times negative 1 is going to be positive 1. Here we have negative times negative to make plus 32. So our final answer is going to be this. So again, make your 0 first here, label your a, b, and c, and plug it in, and simplify your discriminant. So that's what you're going to do for today's homework, these two types of problems.